Welcome, everybody. Boroughs and Burbs, episode 99. In today's episode, we're going to do the Kips Bay Show House 2023. We have on our guests today two of the best designers in the country, best designers in New York, Roric, Tobin, and Sergio Mercado. We have the realtor responsible for selling the River Mansion at 337 Riverside Drive at West 106th Street in the Upper West Side of Manhattan, Jonathan Stein, one of the top realtors in all of Manhattan. I have Roberto Cabrera, the other top realtor in Manhattan, as my co-host. And I have Lisa Ben-Isvy, who is publisher, promoter, PR expert for the design world and the inspiration for today's show. So with that, welcome everybody to episode 99. I'm so happy to be talking about the show house, trying to find out what is the show house, what are the trends that are resonating with people today, and why they chose this show house. So with that, let me turn it over to Roberto. You got any ideas on today's show?
My biggest question is, first, I just want to know, how did it initially come together? Where did this idea germinate? How long has it been happening? And then what's the process for choosing a location? Can Lisa, you speak to that?
Well, the show house, this is the Kips Bay, New York, has been going on for years and years and years. And then they added Palm Beach and also Texas.
48th.
So I think this was the 48th for New York, but they were, I think in 2018, they added Palm Beach and then they added Dallas. So basically it is the Super Bowl of show houses. It's, if you're going to do a show house and spend money on a show house, you only do the Kips Bay show house. And you get selected you have to send in your headshot, your bio, your portfolio, and then it is really up to a select group of judges. You do not get to select your room. They select it for you.
I see. Is there like a percentage of people who get accepted versus apply? Like 20% of applications get accepted? Is it less? Is it more?
Very basically, I think 100 people could apply or even more. And I think there were 22 rooms. So 22 designers, but some designers might not like their room and they won't do the show house.
Interesting. So I guess that's a big day when you're like, what did they decide for me to have? Did they decide for me to have this living room or this office or the kitchen? That's like a big deal.
It's a huge deal. And then seeing it beforehand and not being able to sleep because you're like, what am I doing with this room? Because it's a show house and it has to be an extension of what you do, but over the top. You have to go a little bit against the grain of what you normally do. You have to step it up because it's a show house.
And one other thing about Kips Bay is that they rotate the designers through so that you're not allowed to do it every year because they want to keep the design roster fresh. So once you do it, you have to take a break for a few years.
But you also might not have money to do it again for a few years.
So specifically, Sergio was asked to do the 2023 show house in New York. And Roric, you've done previous show houses, I think, in Palm Beach. Is that right?
Correct. I did the first Palm Beach show house. So when they asked, when they announced they were doing that, I thought that would be a great place to it's exciting to do a new location. And, obviously there's a huge design world down in Palm Beach and South Florida in general. So it was a tremendous opportunity to be the first down there. And we were thrilled there were 2 master bedrooms. So I was very pleased to get one of them. And we had a lot of fun doing it, but it was obviously a lot of work. And I'm sure they went through this with older houses in New York as well. The electric's not up to code. Anytime you go and do something, it's a lot of work. So it's definitely a passion project.
So Tobin, it says Tobin was the youngest designer asked to participate in the inaugural Palm Beach version of the show house.
Yes.
Are
Yes,
you
I was.
still the youngest? Are you still the wunderkind of the design world?
No, I mean, I think of all the Kips Bay, I'm sure that there have been younger ones, but I was the youngest definitely that year. It was sort of I was also one of the few New York-based designers. A lot of them were Florida-based, and a couple Boston, etc. But the obviously the average age down there tends to skew a little higher. So
And you're in Palm Beach now?
no, I'm actually upstate in New York with my parents.
Okay, yeah, it doesn't look like Palm Beach.
But yeah, no. And I'm in Miami, New York, and then Greenport, New York. Those are the sort of three locations for me.
So
when you did
one of
Palm
the
Beach,
major
what was-
questions, looking back on 2018 to 2023, did it impact your business? The fact that you were selected, you were published, everybody saw the design, there was a great buzz about it. Was there a good long-term effect on the business? And does it generate more business or just more respect among your peers in the design community and the real estate community?
It's both. I think there are two impacts. There's sort of the soft impact of, publicity, notoriety, esteem, what going like that. And then there is the getting actual business. And so, it's rare that someone actually walks in and says, I'm ready to go with a project. Here we go. But oftentimes you'll get someone who calls you and says, oh, I saw that thing you did in Kips Bay 2 years ago. And so it's a little bit of a long, you have to be
Validation.
patient, but
Mhm.
the jobs do come from it, definitely.
All right, so I want to pivot now to Jonathan Stein. I have in front of me a picture of 337 Riverside Drive. Is that the townhouse that we're talking about?
That's the house.
All right, there it is on Jonathan's wealth report. Jonathan Stein, boom, that's his major listing, $24 million townhouse. Now, Kips Bay approached you and said, you know what, Jonathan, we think you need some help selling this townhouse. We want to make it our show house this year. Is that how it happens, or do you
I
approach
wish
them?
that you make it sound like they fly out of the sky like a fairy godmother and just wave their wand and it's all done. No, it was a long-term labor of love with this house. I have a relationship with the family. We spoke about it for about 3 years prior to it becoming the show house. And the family that owns it currently, since the home was built between 1899 and 1902, they've owned it the longest of any family that has acted as stewards for such a grand property, aptly named the River Mansion. And it was a very well-loved, well-lived-in home that the family has inhabited for over 40 years now. So we needed a bit of a facelift and some touch-ups. So effectively, the Kips Bay coming in was a bit of a fairy godmother situation, because not only was the home completely white box prior to the show house starting, we had a crack team of, arguably some of the best designers in the world lending their talents to making the house very show ready, very eclectic collection of rooms, and just showing, in our business, more often than not, our job is not only showing the property as it can be, but aspirationally what is possible, or rather what it is now, instead of what it is now, what it can be. And I'm looking at Sergio's bathroom right now, which is just, it's such a focal point for the tour when I'm able to show it, because you make it up 5 flights of very large grand stairs to the primary floor, primary suite, western windows overlooking the Hudson River and treetops. And then you just walk into this bathroom that's, it's just so clean, well designed. The finishes, neutral palette, huge shower, the largest bathtub I think I've ever seen. And it's just a real showstopper. So, having Kips Bay behind us from a marketing standpoint, I mean, you can't really put a dollar figure on that. We were so
But
lucky.
you're a
to be-
realtor, you have, that's your job. You got to put a dollar figure on this. So it's on the market for $24 million. I would
Right.
imagine, I mean, be honest with me, Jonathan, when you get a fabulous mansion that's looking tired and you say to yourself, gosh, I don't know. I think there's only a few people who could take on such a project. And there's only a few buyers out there who have the vision, who can see past tired furnishings and a 50-year-old design. So you just said, you're right. It's a fairy godmother comes in and shows what this mansion could be. There's got to be a value to that. And that's your job. Did it add millions to the value?
Exponentially.
Exponential.
100%. Yeah. I mean,
Jonathan,
in terms of,
just can you go back to the sequence of events of getting the Kips Bay Show House to? Did you have to contact them and put it into a pool of potential properties, or was it something where they were aware that this house was out there and they approached you? Like, how did that happen?
And why he's asking is all our audience is full of billionaires with tired townhouses, and they want to know, how do they get in on this action? So talk us through the process.
my grandfather always said the definition of luck is being in the right place at the right time and being prepared. So right place, right time, and we were ready for it. But I can't really take any of the credit for the show house intro. Sasha Bekoff, who was one of the designers for the house, has a relationship with the family, and she has designed for previous show houses, and she knew all the folks over at Kips Bay, did the intro. And then from there, I'm not going to commit to this fully. I don't think they looked at any other houses after they were introduced to our property, because I think they felt there was so much potential with it and so many different rooms that they could bring in such a, voluminous amount of top tier designers to completely redo the home. I don't think they could see anything else after they saw our home.
And how
So it was
far in
pretty
advance
perfect.
was that? Was that like 2 years ago?
No, they move so fast. It was like, I want to say 3.5 months before opening night. It was like
Oh my God.
it was like, in the Looney Tunes commercials with like, the Tasmanian devil with the tornado that
Yeah.
envelops something and it
Yeah.
completely revamps it. That's what it was. It was like a crew descended upon the house first thing in the morning to sometimes so late at night that it was early the next morning. Security crew on staff 24/7. So a lot of people were able to work through the night in terms of, getting the preliminary white boxing underway. And then just all the heavy lifting happened just continuously. It was nonstop.
Wow. Sergio, 3.5
How
months.
much-
That's not too stressful, is it?
Oh God, yeah. I mean, it was really the most insane timeline that I've ever experienced on a project. And also too, it's different if you've got, I'm not trying to downplay any other rooms, but when you are dealing with a bathroom or a kitchen, there's so much coordination, right? And there's so much logistics. There's, we had to reroute plumbing, lighting, heating. There were, 3 heating units that we had to remove and replace. And when you have 7 weeks from the moment that you're told that you've gotten the room, and I was in a kind of a nice position because I wasn't just given a room. I was actually given a choice of 3 rooms. I was actually given a choice of 3 different bathrooms, but I chose the primary bath because I figured, either you go big or you go home, right? I mean, if you're going to do this, if you're going to make the investment in something, you're going to do it. And, and I kind of put the pause. I said, okay, well, let me check out the space first before I commit to it. And then when I saw the space, I thought, oh my God, this is going to be a real Megillah, but you just do it. You just strap on your boots and you just say, okay, you roll up your sleeves and you just go for it. But
did you question if it was feasible to do it within the time period, considering that every other designer is coming and going with their people as well?
Yeah, it's definitely something that, before there were two things that I did before I committed. One of them was, first and foremost, was I reached out to one of my favorite contractors that I like working with. And I asked him if he would be on board with we're participating in this. And I told him the timeline. I said, look, it's a very tight timeline. I can't say yes to this unless you're on board with this. And the minute he said yes, I'm like, okay, let me go check out the space. I'm like, okay, they really need this. This really needs to be renovated. And it just, being on the top floor, with those windows looking out onto the Hudson, your wheels just start turning right away. My wheels were turning from the moment I stepped foot in that space and I saw the views from the windows. I thought, okay, this could be a really spectacular space. It's just logistically, it was hard. You're also dealing with a bathroom that's on the top floor. And when you've been in that townhouse, you see what happens. That last run of stairs gets very narrow. So when you're dealing with, tubs, door frames had to be removed. I mean, we had to basically open up a passage between the hallway, directly from the hallway to our bathroom, so that we can bring all of the large items in without, hindering anyone else's space. But it still didn't stop. It was down to the wire. I mean, we had our glass enclosure, those glass panels that were installed. Those got installed the last day, on the last day. And talk about stress.
Did you not complicate things by designing a brand new tile format during that window of time?
Well, not really. I think that what created the timeline is also pushing the envelope with the contractor and saying, look, I don't really want to have to give away any design details. We didn't have to do a curbless shower. We didn't have to do floor to ceiling glass that's frameless. We didn't have to do offset pivot hinges. We didn't have to do all the things that we did to make that bathroom what it looks like, but I wasn't going to do it any other way, and I told the contractor, I said, we can't do this any other way. We have to do it this way. I can't visually see it any other way. And I just don't think it would be fair because, my name's on it, your name's on it. This is a big deal. This is the first time I've ever been asked to do the show house. And, I'm personally, I have friendships with people that are on the board, and I thought I can't let them down. I can't let, we all have to step up to the plate and just make it happen.
How do you do this in 7 weeks? This is incredible to me. Can you walk us through some of the things that we're seeing on the screen in front of us? Because when you said you have to plan to move plumbing, and if you don't, and I know that if I went to a fabricator, a marble fabricator, and said, I want a marble sink, I want the top, they would say, I'm not coming in until you're done roughing in this and that, and you have your walls and you have everything in, then I'll measure, then I'll start the process. So all of these dependencies, I think you must have had to make your decisions on the design in the first couple of days and commit to these fabricators.
Yeah. Well, I was on vacation because I had already planned a trip to be on vacation a week after I got notified of this. So I was working while I was on vacation. And the first thing that we had to work on were the drawings. This cannot happen without a set of drawings. So we had to actually create, we had to survey the space. We had to create a full set of construction documents, including where we wanted all the rough plumbing, where the shower is, right? What you're seeing in the image there was a closet in that location. So walls had to come out, plumbing had to be relocated. the tub filler was actually a wall-mounted filler. There was a wall between, so there was a shower between where that tub is located, where that pitched wall is. There was a shower, really tiny 3-foot by 3-foot shower. And all the controls were wall mounted. So we had to relocate the plumbing. We had to actually go into the neighbor's space in order to get the plumbing fixtures where we wanted them in the shower, which was, at that time, which, was closet. Fortunately, there was a step up into the primary bath that allowed us to do all of our drain work for the shower and also install a freestanding tub filler, which was kind of like a godsend because when I saw the space, I said, this has to be a freestanding tub. I didn't really want the tub built into the window. So all those things had to be decided on right away. The feasibility, we had to have the contractor open up walls and make sure that we can do what we wanted to do. And hand in hand, while they were demoing and opening up walls, we were working on our construction set. So it happened, it all had to happen at the same time. There wasn't a set of drawings that were submitted to the contractor for them to then demo. No, demo was happening while we were working on the construction set of drawings. So that's the only way something like this can happen. But even still, everyone knows that tempering glass takes 3 weeks. Our glass guy told us, he basically paid the guy, the glass fabricator, he basically gave him a hand of cash and said, look, I need this done in 2 days. I need this glass tempered. I need you to turn on the heat, whatever they use to temper glass, keep it on overnight. And I'm bringing my glass first thing in the morning. I mean, there was a lot of things that happened in order to make it happen in 7 weeks.
So if I'm your client, I can't say, but Sergio, you did that in 7 weeks. Why can't you whip together a bathroom for me in 7 weeks?
It's not possible. It's not realistic.
Was there a tremendous level of freedom in the sense that you were your own client in this case? Like you could do whatever you want. You didn't have to.
Yeah, that's the beauty of the show house. There wasn't a board that you have to present any drawings to. We did put together conceptual, we pulled together some elevations and some conceptual renderings, but it wasn't like it needed approval by them. It wasn't really, we even provided images of finishes, and you asked about one of the finishes, in particular the wall tile. That was we were already in the works with a company to make that stone. We were only in the works for like maybe a couple weeks. And when I approached them about it, I said, this is an amazing opportunity to launch this for the show house. Is there any way we can do this? And, they said, well, if you can design it in the software program that our CNC machine will accept, the laser carving machine, then there's a good chance that we can do it. So we did. So that was how we were able to make that happen, which was, it was literally like all hands on deck. What can we do to make this happen? And everyone just put together their best efforts and for the good of the project, made it happen.
So, Lisa, if you were advising me to go find a designer, maybe would you advise me to go find a designer who had been through the show house process? Because it would show that they're not only capable of producing a pretty design, but executing on that design in a very short period of time. It shows, what I'm hearing is that Sergio and Roric have the relationships with the tile guy, the glass guy, the plumbing guy, the roughing, all of the relationships you need to get a project done on time and on budget. And so it seems like if you can't handle that, you really need to have shown your worth with a show house if you're going to be hired for a major project in New York or Palm Beach.
100%, but I will say everybody's always looking at the designers as their talent. But the reason why people bend over backwards is not only because they're talented, but also they're very good, kind people. So no matter what level these designers are on, they treat everyone, whether it's a delivery guy or whatever it is. Roric and Sergio treat everyone with respect, as well, they're all equals. So I believe that when you work with people, you get what you give. Kindness, thanking them. It's not Sergio's room and it's not Roric's room alone. They're a team and they speak to them as though they're a team. And to me, that speaks volumes of making something happen like this. And that's another reason why they should work with them.
Why is this the Super Bowl of show homes? What is the impact? Who sees this? Why does it matter?
Every single editor, even websites that we didn't even know existed. Like, honestly, Sergio and I were attached at the hip, and we said, like, if we still like each other after 2 days of all this press, then we're good. Like, you don't even eat. Like, we were like ready to fall on our faces. Like, it was unbelievable, and everyone was so excited that their passion just like made you even happier. So you could be tired, but you're living on the vibe and the energy. And listen, ask Roberto. He came in. He didn't know what he was walking into. Right, Roberto?
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't. And everybody looked at me like I was like some foreigner or something.
Yeah, he's like, what am I doing?
What's this
what
guy
doing
doing here?
But just show up.
I was just like, I'm with the band. And I just kept going through the house to find you.
And
Jonathan, I had a question for you with regards to the house. Oh, sorry. Roric, please.
Well, just a couple of things I wanted to add. What Lisa was saying about, the team you put together, you can't call in favors if you don't have people to rely on. So it speaks to more than just the moment of putting together the show house. You have to build those relationships for years, or else you're not going to have anybody. You can't just do everything on your own. You need to be able to call in those favors. And I think the other thing is it's important for designers to be in those spaces on those days, because you and I know what went into that bathroom or what went into these things, but people just walk in and they say, oh, what a gorgeous bathroom. And they don't know that you gutted something that was, 40 years old and needed to be completely redone. And you sort of need to walk them through the process, or else they're just walking from room to room. So I think it's important to connect with the people while you're there.
Very important. You're absolutely right. It makes so much of a difference when you have imagery to share with the people that walk through the show house, and you kind of walk through them step by step. What's been done with the space. It really is. It makes a huge difference, and it also personalizes it. You're sort of putting a face to the work, right? And I think that's really important.
And the before pictures.
Yeah, that's huge. That's a really big, that's a visual that really is impactful when you see the before and afters.
Mm-hmm.
So Jonathan, I was just curious, Jonathan, what does the house show like right now? Has all the furniture been taken out?
All the furniture has, but a lot of the finishes stayed. In terms of the fixtures, the entire kitchen has stayed. A lot of the wallpaper has stayed as well. So we recently, if you want to go to, no, it's not up yet. We just redid all the photos where it shows the house without any furniture in it, and still looks pretty great.
So here's my question. Just like, buyers who have this type of budget, often they'll walk into a place that's completely renovated and it's beautiful. They're like, I love it, but I got to change it, right? You put in a $450,000 bathroom. It's beautiful. We're going to change it, and they'll spend $500,000, so they have to kind of undo it and then redo it. Here you have a house that is amazing. I mean, as you walk through it, it literally is like a dream. You walk through, you're like, wow. Every room is another experience. It's just amazing. First, has anybody even considered leaving it as it is to just kind of have that kind of, experience? Has anybody consider that? Or do they go through and say, it's amazing, but I have to spend X to neutralize the house, then do what I want to it?
The latter.
Mhm.
It's been great to see the design be indicative of what the house could be, but as you can imagine, looking at the photos, all of the rooms are very disjointed in that, you know, everyone is the designer's own calling card, with the exception, of course, of, you know, primary bathroom like Sergio has done in the home that can blend itself seamlessly to, you know, several different iterations. A lot of the rooms, a lot of buyers feel, are very esoteric, so specific. And I feel like, you know, Roberta, you can attest to, when someone is pulling the trigger on a house of this magnitude and price, they want to put their own spin on things. So, you know, it's a question I face more often than not with sellers. Like, we're going to list this home. What work do I need to do ahead of time? Do I need to redo the kitchen? Do I need to do the bathroom? And unless it's a total wreck that's not going to show well and is actually going to be a distraction from people taking the home in during a showing, I always try and, you know, persuade someone not to do that ahead of time, because everyone wants to do a project no matter what price point. And this is certainly no exception. I mean, we're 10,000 square feet, and you know, the budget and pricing that you're getting for renovations right now. Pre-pandemic, when I started in the business in 2016, my best friend who's a contractor was giving me a price of $250 to $300 a square foot for a white box. You know, $500 to $650 for, you know, the end all be all, very high end finishes. I mean, now we're getting quotes $1,000 a square foot to start, if you can find someone right now. So it's become, you know, a stark contrast of where we were before. But that being said, I have 3 buyers circling right now that have all viewed the home multiple times and all view it as an amazing project.
But they would leave Sergio's bathroom exactly the way they found it.
I hope
100%.
so.
100%.
That in the
There
kitchen,
are-
I thought Wesley, really knocked it out of the park with his kitchen too. I thought that's
Yeah,
something that's pretty turnkey.
And, you know, not to completely blow smoke up your ass, Sergio, but like you and Wesley were some of the, like, you know, nicest designers at the show house that worked so well with everyone. And, you know, it shows in design. It's like a very transferable design to, you know, any style that the house goes. And, you know, that's feedback that I always get. Primary bathroom is perfect. I've never seen sinks like that before. The shower's amazing. The bathtub, like the fridge in the closet, is such a win. And then the kitchen is amazing. Like, everyone loves, you know, the black interior of the fridge that Jen Air did just for this home. You know, all the appliances, wood burning fireplace, the mantle that Wesley put in. It's a great kitchen. The only feedback I do get about the kitchen is it's on the 4th floor of the home. So, you know, people have talked about moving it down to the 2nd floor. Very doable to do. All of the, you know, current or past stewards of the home have had staff and have utilized the elevator for, you know, serving larger meals. And, you know, it makes sense in 2023 to perhaps bring the kitchen down a couple floors, but at the same time, you don't need to. I mean, the house works pretty well as is. Everyone has their own idea of their spin and what they want to contribute to the home's legacy. But I mean, nothing can be said about the design. The design
No
is flawless.
co-op board. You can do whatever you want, right?
Yeah, no summer rules. You can do whenever.
Is there outdoor space on the top at all, or can it be built?
A lot. There is a few thousand feet of outdoors on the top that no one wanted to stage. We couldn't find, as I understand it, speaking on behalf of Kips Bay, it's 5 flights up to the roof, It's an irrigation system. It's, arguably some of the hottest months and brightest months of the year. So very conservatively, 500K to realistically $1 million to do that roof properly. And it did not make sense as much for someone to stage it. So it's a blank slate up there. You've got carte blanche. The elevator controls are up there, the HVAC, but otherwise you have a, complete open canvas to do whatever you want. You have completely unobstructed views of the Hudson. And it's an interesting vantage point where the house is on the hill overlooking the Hudson. The Hudson Parkway is down below. Not only can you not see it in any season because of how it's situated underneath Riverside Park there, you cannot hear it because of how the berm is built up. So you're looking at an uninterrupted view of the Hudson, north to the GW Bridge. And it's just has some of the most incredible sunset views of all time. So it's that's a great project for someone as well.
That's amazing. What are the taxes on the house?
They are about $12,000 a month.
Okay.
So yeah.
So tell us about the kind of people who are in the market. You said there's 3 people circling around. I know Roberto just sold a $41 million. Was it also a townhouse? Talk to me about that end of the market, both of you. What are they looking for? I mean, if I have that kind of money, I'm looking for a townhouse primarily, or and is that the trend away from maybe the super tall apartments? They want townhouses?
The buyers that I have been showing are all, for the most part, young buyers, young families, want a project, that want a forever home, have the budget to turn it into exactly what they want. They value privacy and security as absolutely paramount to them. It's a very secure block that they can have a secure presence on, and it's just the neighborhood speaks to them a lot. It's people that could do Upper East, don't want to for one reason or another, don't really want to be downtown, want the accessibility of being that far north as well, and really have an imagination and the guts to do a project like that, because it will be a long project.
It's interesting because during the condo boom of like 2012 through 2016, it created a different type of product. There was never really quote unquote family sized apartments. There just weren't. And with the accessibility of schools and everything that happened, and the more livability that has happened, the safety that was brought on through the early part of this century, townhouses started to kind of become out of favor. People wanted all the conveniences of a building, doorman, et cetera, et cetera. So from 2015 to 2019, this townhouse market suffered. It really slowly started to deteriorate. It's very difficult to sell properties. You'd see something that was listed at 17 million that would end up selling for like 11 4 years later, and things like that. It was happening all over the place. When COVID hit, no one wanted to be in an elevator with anybody else. It started again where it became in favor. And I personally think that townhouses are beachfront property in New York. There's only a limited number of them, and it's an opportunity to have more bang for your buck. You get more, you get a better price per square foot. Everybody gets a room. You have you have a terrace on the top. You have a garden in the back. Everybody gets their own room. You have, a rec room. You have a gym. You have everything you could possibly want. And the people who have these budgets they also have staff, and they'll have staff that lives in the house. They take care of everything. So you kind of have a live-in super in some ways. And sometimes the staff is a husband-wife combination where they're doing different tasks. So I think that's the type of buyer right now that I'm seeing. The townhouse that my guy bought, completely different thing. He felt that all the other townhouses, aside from this one, which was very unique, he thought they were all boring, and he liked this particular house. At the same time, his house only appeals to a very small section of people. So, that's what I think. That's what the townhouse market is like.
I think that you just hit on something, that townhouses are historically, they're boring. And if I had plenty of money and I went into the typical townhouse, you're right. If I was your client, I would look and I'd say all those wood floors, and I would see all those, exposed antique features. And I would be nervous about whether I could get a modern product from a 150-year-old townhouse. And I think that that's what's going on with this show house that so excites me, that it shows these potential buyers that they can. I'm going to just show off this one room. It shows that you can have a gold ceiling and black walls. If I told you you can paint your townhouse black walls and put a gold ceiling, I'd say you're nuts. But now that I see it in the show house, I think you're right. A townhouse can be modern. It can be hip.
And I think that's one of the things, back to what Jonathan was saying about how, obviously somebody's going to change this particular show house because they don't want 20 different styles, but it does show you 20 different styles you could use to modernize a townhouse, and it makes you open to the concept of a project because you're like, okay, these people did this, I can do whatever I want as well.
I mean, what do you see in these pictures? First of all, I'm going to start at the beginning. I was blown away by the black walls and the gold ceiling, and basically the light fixture in the center. That chandelier is extraordinary piece of art. And I thought, wow, this is just a transition room, like a hallway in between other rooms. And because it opens on to 4 or 5 other rooms, and yet it's really been made cozy and special all by itself. I was just blown away by this one. The next one, I loved the shiny ceiling. It looks like it's Venetian plaster, white Venetian plaster ceiling. And I thought that's really fun. That's a really fun, modern take on, on what would be just an ordinary white ceiling. Dive in, guys. What else did I notice about modern design trends from these photographs?
Well, I think you see a lot of, and I actually have to take off shortly after this, but I think what you see is a lot of high-end design, sort of melding between sculpture and furniture, the chandeliers. I mean, I can recognize 9 of the different artists that created the things in here, the fireplace, the chandeliers. And I think you're really seeing people are making their collections not only about the artwork, but also about the furniture. And that's one of the ways to differentiate for the modern collector. I think, gone are the days where everyone has the same French furniture, just in different colors. Everyone has their own concept of what high-end luxury design is, and they can really express that through these contemporary design pieces.
Yeah, very exciting. And you're right. It's a very sculptural quality to the furniture, and you wouldn't know that you could get away with that in a traditional space unless you saw it. Very exciting.
The room proportions in a house like this also give you such flexibility to do so many different things.
The scale of the house,
the ceilings.
The scale of the rooms, the windows, definitely there were great features to work with. And you can see how a lot of, the other fellow designers, what they did with those spaces, now they transform them. Some of them leaned into the more traditional, details and kept true to that. But a lot of the more modern approaches, in certain cases, like Jay Jeffers' room, where he kept the details, but did a great job painting the walls in 2 different colors. And, there are just so many different things that you can do to a space to make it your own. And there was a good platform for multiple designers to prove that and to show that, examples of all those types of things.
So where does
okay,
the Kips
Jonathan,
Bay show
I've got to
house?
take off, but thank you for having me.
Thanks, Roric.
Rory, take care.
Bye.
Take care.
Bye.
So Lisa, where does the Kips Bay Show House go from here? What's next? I mean, a year is going to pass like that. What will be different next year? What's the, like, how does that evolve? I mean, I'm sure it's just like fashion, you know, it's just a new line of clothes or, you know, in some way, but I mean, like a year will pass in a second and they're going to redo this again here in Manhattan.
With different designers, different people's vision, different talent, and everybody wants to step it up. You know, some people go over the top crazy where you're like, what are they thinking? And other designers are like, oh my gosh, I could hire this designer. But you know, some designers go crazy over the top because they feel like a magazine would feature them then. Like, what is going to get the press to grab me? Even though they might not do it for a client, but they're doing it for a show house, right? It's for show. Like I remember Sergio,
Right.
He went all out on his flooring. Sergio, please share those two colors.
What?
The flooring that I'm like, are you kidding me? Like you wanted it like a little bit more neutral. I'm like, it's a show house, go whiter. So and this is like, you know, you see what Sergio's design is and what his taste is and how seamless and clean and everything. But share the story with the flooring.
Well, there are many shades of beige. So let's be honest, there are many shades of every color. There are many shades of white, right? So
I got to run too, guys. Thanks again.
Take care.
Jonathan, get that sale done.
So yeah, there were a couple of different, you know, tones that we were working with, and a couple of different textures that we had to choose from. But yeah, we landed on what was installed, and I'm really happy with it. But I know for a while there, I was thinking, oh my God, is it too light? Maybe I went a little too light. Should have gone a little darker. You know, I tend to like the floors.
It's a show house.
Yeah, I tend to like the floors a little darker, but it ended up being just fine. You know, you worry about these small things, these things that you just sort of obsess over. And then once it's in, you realize, oh my God, why did I obsess over that? You know?
It's such a soothing place, that what you designed. It's amazing.
No, thank you.
I mean, in the chaos of that house, when I went through that house, the chaos of what was happening in the house with so many people and this and that and this, the moment you walk in that room, it literally was like the Wizard of Oz. You walk through the door and all of a sudden it's just like, whoa, you're somewhere else. It really was just amazing.
Like a spa. You feel
know.
like you went for therapy.
Yeah.
Well, and for like the opening, we took the steps of, you know, lighting a particular candle scent and putting on music. And, you know, it was about touching on all the senses. So when you walked into the space, it wasn't just visual, but it was, you know, your smell. It's like, oh my God, what's that smell? The sounds, what's playing in the background? I mean, I remember there were a couple of people that went into the space and they were like, oh my God, we love the music that you're playing here. We just like want to hang out in this space all night. And that was kind of the reaction we were hoping for. You know, it was like, yes, okay, this is great. This is exactly what we wanted to achieve. We wanted to engage people and keep them there. You know, we wanted them to enjoy themselves. And then I remember one person said, God, all I need is a drink. And I said, well, I can serve you one up. I opened up the mini fridge. I, you know, popped open a bottle of wine. She goes, are you kidding me? I said, no, I'm not kidding you. You asked for a drink. I'm giving you a drink. That's what this is for. That's why that's what this is all for.
Even
So-
And the next thing you know, she was in the shower.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the thing too is people were testing the water. They thought, well, this can't be functional, right? That was one of the big things. People were like, well, this isn't functional, is it? I'm like, yes, it had to be fully functional, code compliant. Everything has to work. Everything had to work.
So talk to me about what the ideal client. Let's say I just bought the River Mansion and I want to work. I want a bathroom like this, and I approach you and I say, I'd really like to redo the bathroom. I'd like to move the fixtures around. I'd like a modern tub. I'd like a frameless glass shower. What does the process look like? And what does the ideal client look like in this situation? In this case, you whip it together in 7 weeks and you are your own client, but that's rare. So when Roberto's client buys a townhouse and he engages a top designer like you, how should he approach the project? Does he have to come to you with a budget in mind or an inspiration in mind?
No, I think it's really just meeting the client and creating a program. I mean, that's usually where we start. We discuss the various things that the client wants to achieve with their project. Jonathan mentioned relocating the kitchen. That might be a hot topic for someone who's buying Riverside Drive. It may not be for one of the other three buyers. So it's really about meeting that client and discussing with them all of their wants and desires for the project, what they're drawn to aesthetically, what their likes and dislikes are, and then start to get into a number. Like, what is the number? What is the renovation? What is your renovation budget? And those are usually the steps we take before going into design and working on design drawings, and also bringing in a contractor. So a lot of times, there's a feasibility study that we'll perform. We'll say, okay, based on what you're telling us you'd like, you can probably achieve X, Y, and Z, but you probably can't achieve, N over here. So there's always that moment where you come to the client and say, you can afford certain aspects of this. What are your top? What are the things most important to you? And then we'll design within your budget, because I think
I can see where people might approach you and say, I'm looking at your website now, and I know that you're capable of giving me a modern design. And I know that you can give me something that's sleek, but I don't know from these pictures if you can do it within my budget. And I'm going to tell you certain things that I like and don't like about the designs I've seen. Like, I might say, you did the Astor Place apartment with orange walls, and I don't really like orange walls. I could see them coming back. Or I really like the natural floors you do in a lot of these. Is that something we can do? So is that what they do? Is they pick apart some of the designs that they've seen on your website and say what they like and don't like about it? Is that how the conversation begins?
No, a lot of times clients are they're very knowledgeable and they're very savvy. They are on Pinterest, they're on Instagram, they have saved and bookmarked things that they've seen that they've liked. And a lot of times clients will come to me with imagery of projects and things that they've seen that they like. And some of them will have seen my work and say, oh, I really like what you did on, the project down in Tribeca. So they'll have already an idea of what they're looking for in terms of design. They already have a feeling of what they like before they even engage, because there's already something they've already seen. Most of the time, at this point, they've already seen my work. They've already been directed to my website, or I've sent them things that I've recently done that are not on my website right now. Like, we finished a townhouse. We're talking about a townhouse. We finished a townhouse over at Riverview Terrace, and we just had it photographed. Can't put the pictures on my website because, we're sending them off to editors. Same thing, with a project down in Palm Beach. We're going to be shooting that next month. A project in the Hamptons we finished that we've just shot. So there are other projects that I can share with clients that aren't on my website that they may be drawn to. And that's usually how the conversation starts. It's usually that, and then it stems to, okay, what's your wish list? And then we figure out what their budget is, and then we design to their budget.
All right, we've got 1 minute left. Roberto, what did you learn today?
I mean, I think it's a tall order to do what you do in to present at a location like this, especially when you're crossing paths with people you probably compete with for business all the time. So there's a little bit of, rubbing of shoulders, and at the same time, you're like making it happen and everybody's collegial. So I applaud you for that, because that's an amazing thing. And I'm just curious, when would be the next time that you would be considered for this?
3 years. So it's every
3 years.
3 years.
Mhm.
And you approach
Can you go?
Palm
Can you
Beach
do Palm
differently
Beach?
than Dallas?
I can do Palm Beach. Yep. And I would do Palm Beach. I think that might be the one that I would probably do next. Because I like working down there. I have projects down there and I enjoy it. And I think it would be a great opportunity.
All right. Well, I want to
And
thank
Lisa,
you
you go to
so
all of them?
much. I want to thank
Yes.
you. It's SergioMercado.com if you want to engage with Sergio on your next design. Lisa, you are the superstar of the design world in New York. And if you're a designer or you want to meet or connect with the best designers in New York, they can come connect with you, Lisa Ben-Isvy, at lbiconnects.com, right?
Yes, thank you.
And Roberto sells $40 million townhouses and everything less than $40 million.
Every day. Every day.
And I'm John Engel, and I'm at the johnengel.com, and I'm in Connecticut. So with that, thank you,
Superstar.
everybody.
Thank
And,
you.
Thank
Thank you,
you.
Skipper. Thank you, guys. So
next
great to see you
Thursday,
both.
You
We're gonna
too.
Good to see you too.
we're getting together with an economist for our next show. So we're getting away from design. We go back to the economist.
Crunch the numbers.
Crunch some numbers. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. Bye.